Today we are going to be multiplying and dividing with integers. So when we were adding and subtracting, I really encourage you guys to follow these rules. If you have a same signs problem, you add the two numbers together and then keep the sign in front of the larger number. If you have an opposite signs problem, you subtract the two numbers and then keep the sign of the larger number. Okay, and that's because positives and negatives cancel each other out. So if they're opposite signs, you need to subtract so that the numbers cancel each other out. Now, multiplication and division have a similar but different set of rules. Okay, we can't just follow the same rules that we did for addition and subtraction. Now, the multiplication and division rules are going to involve the same symbols. Plus, same as plus here, minus symbols. Okay, but the meaning of these symbols is going to be a bit different than what it meant before. Over here, the plus symbol meant add, and this symbol meant subtract. For the multiplication and division rules, this symbol here will mean positive answer. And this symbol down here will mean negative answer. Okay, so when you are multiplying or dividing, you multiply and divide the two numbers like normal. But if it's a same signs problem, your answer will always be positive. If it's an opposite signs problem, your answer will always be negative. When you're multiplying and dividing, you do not have to look at which number is bigger to decide if the final answer should be positive or negative. You just have to follow these two rules. Same signs, positive answer. Opposite signs, negative answer. Okay, this will make sense as we do a couple of example problems. All right, so here are two examples of same sign problems. I have a positive 6 times a positive 8. They're both positive, same signs. Down here, I have a negative 6 times a negative 8. They're both negative, so again, same signs. Same signs, the answer should always be positive. So I know that 6 times 8 is 48. And since it's a same signs problem, the answer will be a positive 48. Negative 6 times negative 8, again, just multiply like normal. 6 times 8 is 48. And since it is a same signs problem, both are negative, I know my answer should be positive. Same signs problem, positive answer. Okay, so since these had the same signs, the answer was positive. Okay, here are some examples of opposite signs problem. Here, the 6 is negative, but the 8 is positive. Opposite signs. And below, the 6 is positive, but the 8 is negative. This is two examples of opposite signs problems. So to get the answer, you multiply like normal. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 8 is 48. And because it's an opposite signs problem, the answer will always be negative. Okay? Whenever you approach an opposite signs multiplication or division problem, your answer will always be negative. Okay? And that's the pretty simple rule that you follow when you are multiplying or dividing. Now, a couple additional things I want to show you. Let's do this bottom example here. I have a negative 6 times 2. Is this an opposite signs problem or a same signs problem? Hopefully you're all thinking opposite, because the 6 is negative, but the 2 is positive. They are opposite signs. Now, whenever you have an opposite signs problem, your answer will be negative. So I just multiply by like normal. 6 times 2 is 12. And then I know my answer needs to be a negative 12 because of these rules. It's an opposite signs problem. My answer must be negative. Okay, now this problem can be written in several different ways. You might see this problem written with the multiplication dot rather than the times symbol. But it's the same problem, and it still equals negative 12. You also might see the problem written with parentheses. Negative 6 times 2. Now, when you have a parenthesis and a parenthesis side by side with nothing in between, that is multiplication. Okay, this right here is a multiplication problem. The answer is negative 12. So definitely keep your eye out for when you have a parenthesis and a parenthesis sitting side by side. Okay, the problem could also be written like this, with just one set of parentheses. Notice the 6 is right next to the parenthesis. There's nothing in between, no plus sign, no minus sign. When you have this happening, a number sitting right next to a parenthesis, there is an invisible multiplication sign smashed in the middle of those two. It's just invisible to save space. So your answer again here would be a negative 12. Okay, I will give you a variety of problems on your homework and in future assignments. Sometimes I'll use the multiplication sign, whereas sometimes I'll use parentheses and no multiplication sign at all. Okay, let me write this in even another way. 6 and negative 2. Okay, very similar to the problem I gave above. Again, I have this 6 sitting right next to a parenthesis with no operation symbol in between. There's no minus sign in between the 6 and the parenthesis. There isn't a division sign, an addition sign. What is there is an invisible multiplication. Okay, 6 times negative 2 would be negative 12. Division works the same way as multiplication. Let's do some division problems. All right, let's say I had negative 18 divided by 2. Is this a same signs problem or an opposite signs problem? Hopefully you're thinking opposite signs. The 18 is negative, but the 2 is positive. Opposite signs, negative answer. 18 divided by 2 is 9, and my answer must be negative because it's an opposite signs problem. Okay, here's another example. Negative 20 divided by negative 10. Is this an opposite signs problem or a same signs problem? This would be considered a same signs problem because both the 20 and the 10 have negatives in front. Same signs, positive answer. 20 divided by 10 is 2, and I know my answer must be a positive 2 because this is a same signs problem. Okay, now this problem can be written in a variety of different ways. Instead of a division symbol, I could use a fraction bar. And you'll see this on your homework. The fraction bar and the division symbol mean the same thing. They mean divide. Negative 20 divided by negative 10 equals positive 2.